everybody. Welcome to P&M's Movie Criticisms. I'm Miss M.
Miss P.
How's it going, everyone? So, as usual, I'm going to give our fans and newcomers what they want, and that is the hot sauce song. Oh, come on, Miss P. I need you to hype me up. Come on, Simona.
You better hype yourself up. You don't need no hype. You better hype yourself up. You don't need no hype. You better hype yourself up. You don't need no hype. You better hype yourself up.
Movie criticisms, being movie criticisms, being movie criticisms, got the hot sauce, P&M, movie criticisms with the hot sauce. That's right. We talk about all the things that are hot and all the things that are not. Speaking of which, we have our little production calendar and we have a list, but we just had to review this movie and we have all the other films, all the other movies we have reviewed, they have to wait because Miss P, please tell them which movie we're reviewing today.
We are doing Ryan Coogler Sinner.
Ooh, that's right. What's up, Ryan? How you doing? Okay, so that's right. So we had to review this movie. We had to. The film critic within us said, "Go, go, go! Now is the time." So we gotta rate this movie on our hot sauce chart, everybody. So if you're new, then let us tell you. All right. So we have our hot sauce chart, P&M Movie Criticisms hot sauce chart. At the top, there's nothing better. There's the Carolina Reaper. It's perfect in all of its ways. It leaves nothing out. Beneath that is the ghost pepper. It is amazing, but there's still a little something there that was missing, okay? Beneath that, we have the habanero. It was a good movie. You and your family liked it. You're happy with it. After that, you have the jalapeno. The jalapeno is, it's meh. Just meh. And then at the bottom is a complete bell pepper, the type of movie where you go on rants, leave bad reviews, request for your money back at the movie ticket stand if you still go to the movie theaters. So with that said, Miss P, how do you rate Ryan Coogler's Sinners?
I'm going to give it the hottest thing that we have on our rating. On our hot sauce scale, it's going to be the Carolina Reaper for this one. Carolina Reaper.
Okay. The Carolina Reaper. That is hot. Super hot. Well, I guess that leaves me. I've been sitting here waiting for Miss P to finish wrapping up her stuff, and I've been racking my brain. Carolina Reaper or Ghost Pepper? Boy, Carolina Reaper.
What you gonna rate it?
Ghost Pepper. Part of me wants to rate it a Ghost Pepper. Part of me wants to rate it a Carolina Reaper. But the thing is, I can't see why I'm going to give it a Ghost Pepper or why I'm going to give it a Carolina Reaper. I don't know. So I'm going to withhold to the end of this film review. Okay? Because we got to run it through our P&M Movie Criticisms criteria because I am conflicted. I have all these notes and we just finished watching this movie, so I still feel like I'm digesting it. I'm still rolling it around in my mind. I'm not like Miss P. She's got it. Miss P, can you please tell everybody about the P&M Movie Criticisms criteria, please?
I surely can. Okay, so with that being said, you have number 9, do we like it or do we love it? Number 8, is it historically accurate? Number 7, did it strike my emotions? Number 6, did it keep my attention? Number 5, what are the production elements? Number 4, what's the directing like? Number 3 is the quality of acting. Number 2 is the sound quality and effects. And number 1, cinematography, my favorite.
Yeah, cinematography. So, come on, tell us, Miss P. Do you like it or do you love it?
I love it.
Okay. Me? There's things that I like. There's things that I love. I love it.
See, we're getting on the same page today, which is very, very rare. But when it happens, it's like lightning striking twice.
Yeah. Yeah, twice in the same spot. Well, let's talk about this. There are a lot of things, we usually do take notes while we watch movies. Do we like it or do we love it? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about number 8. Is it historically accurate?
Yes,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah, definitely.
You have to imagine it's
Mm-hmm.
1932. It's the Jim Crow
Mm-hmm.
South. It is in
Yeah.
Mississippi. So yeah, it is very accurate because they had even in the movie they had, whites only, whites boarding here. So it was very accurate historically. Yes.
It was. It was. Even down to our Chinese people, they were on the black side, right? With the
Hmm.
segregation, they were on the black side because that's where they would be. I don't know if anybody has ever seen those pictures with the civil rights movement, but Chinese people and other Asian people would march with black people, for equal civil rights. So, yeah, they would have been with the black people in Jim Crow South. So that was definitely very accurate, even down to the choice of music here, which is blues.
Hmm.
Yes, because the blues music here is extremely, extremely important. So, blues music, for those of you who don't know, blues music originating in the South shortly after the Civil War, blues music was something that was about it was about being, a lot of people think that blues music came from slaves. It did not. It came from the people that slaves became, which would be the free men, the freed men, the freed women. Okay, that is what blues music is. And it often talks about farming. It often talks about the ability to be free and just have one's dreams. And it also talks about sharecropping, which we do have sharecroppers, right? In our movie.
That is correct, Miss M.
Yeah. So when it comes to history, I would say it was definitely very, 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 very accurate. Oh, I almost forgot about blues music. Blues music also not only sang about sharecropping, but sang about juke houses, which is our main setting in this movie. That's
Yes.
right. What else should we talk about historically wise, Miss P?
You got to remember, they paid for everything in cash, usually because they came from Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they were hustling up in Chicago and left from Chicago because he said the only difference about plantations is it's just metal buildings instead of the man telling you what to do. It's the people in the buildings telling you what to do. I caught that. You had to go back and look at it, but if you paid attention, you would have heard him say ain't nothing different about the North and the South. It's just the people in the buildings. I was like,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
I hear you.
That's true. That's true. Just the people. The people, they make it different. That's it. And what about those names? You know how in the South, that's not really accurate? Everybody has a nickname.
Look,
Everybody has a nickname. You have Smoke, you have Stack, the twins, you have Cornbread, you have Grease, Cornbread's wife, Grease. You have Sammy, who's AKA Preacher Boy.
then you had Delta Slim.
Right, right. So that's accurate. That's accurate. So, yeah, that is really accurate. And then Annie did Roots. If you know anything about the South, then you know that the type of witchcraft they do is called roots, okay? Down Mississippi, down in South Carolina, is what my father always taught me. Never eat anything that's red, brown, or black from a person you don't trust.
Mm.
My father, he comes from around about those areas. And so I heard about roots growing up, and that's what Annie does. She does roots, right? So historically, so talking about the South and the nicknames that they have and the music that was being played in the juke house, yeah, historically accurate. And for having 3 months to do everything, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Pretty impressive.
So everything was historically accurate. So that's all I have to say about it being historically accurate. Number 7. Well, let's go back to historically accurate really quick. Because if you base it on the Bible, right? You have Sammy, who's the innocent. Then you have the two twins, Cain and Abel.
Yeah.
Get it? Then you have the fallen angel that falls down, which is Remick. You have there's a different parallel that you see. You know what I'm saying? There's a different parallel that I see for being historically accurate. Is it historically accurate? Yes, in that sense.
Yeah.
It is very much historically accurate.
Yeah. And you know what? Let's give a short synopsis, Miss P. So basically you have a pair of twins. You have Stack and you have Smoke, both played by Michael B. Jordan. What's up, Mike? What's up? So we have those two, and then we have Sammy. Sammy is their cousin, okay? And Sammy is just, his nickname says exactly who he is. And that's the thing about nicknames in the South. They always detail the most important characteristic about a person. And for Sammy, he is Preacher Boy, the son of a preacher, okay? Who's really gifted with music. And Sammy's going with his cousins, okay? Smoke and Stack, because they're back from Chicago doing some work with your boy Al Capone, and they've earned a substantial amount of bread. No doubt, you know, you have the Arab prohibition, everything. And so they've made some money. Now they're opening up a juke house. And the beginning of the movie is really just them putting it all together. They're getting the musicians, they're buying the juke house, they're negotiating prices with people, with singers, cooking food. This is the beginning. And we also get to see the development of the characters. And so, and then what eventually happens, which, yeah, I'm not going to say it. So that's pretty much the premise, though.
They open up a juke joint. That's what it's really called, a juke
Yeah,
joint.
juke joints.
So what happens is, let's go to number 7. Did it strike my emotions? Yes. Yes, indeed. But Miss M, I want to hear your take on this because this is where we usually differ. Did it strike your emotions?
Did it strike my emotions? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it definitely struck my emotions. There's so many things that this movie is hitting on, culturally wise as well, because I don't think people realize the significance of blues music, especially within the African American community. So yeah, it struck my emotions. Of course, definitely at the height of the climax and the resolution, but I enjoyed learning about Smoke and Stack and how they operate because you don't mess with those two. No, no, no. No, no, no. They will pull a gun out on you. Okay? What about you, Miss P? Did it strike your emotions?
It did. This was multifaceted because there was the scene in the car, that scene in the car where Delta Slim, Sammy, and was it Smoke or was it Stack?
Okay, so if he had the wide brim hat on in that scene, that is Stack.
He didn't have a hat on.
He didn't have a hat on?
No, no, no. He went to go get Delta Slim, and they were all three driving in the
Oh,
car.
that would be Stack then.
Yeah, okay. So Stack went down there to get Delta Slim, and he basically promised him $40 a night for playing the piano, the harmonica, you know, basically giving them the music and all the Irish beer that he could drink.
Mm-hmm.
And so that right there. But when they were in the car, he was telling them about how he knew every single one of those men that were on the chain gang. And one of them said, "Hey, Delta." And then he got shot at because you're not allowed to speak to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But he said, "Drive real slow." And he's like, "Keep your head up, boys. Keep your head up. Don't let them get you down. Keep your head up." Because they were all singing. And that's when I watched a scene from him. Well, I didn't watch a scene, but I watched a quick, like 30-second thing that he had done on TikTok where he said his monologue was like 3 pages at first and they were not going to let him put it out there. So what happened was they took the monologue and they chopped it up and they didn't use it all. And he went back to Ryan and said, "Hey, this needs to be in this movie." And it wasn't because it was just an actor, you know, complaining about his monologue getting cut. It was that it was so important. Ryan went back, put it in, and that was the song was improvised that they started singing. That was all improvised. And Michael said, "Don't you got that guitar back there, boy?" Go ahead and play it. That whole thing was improvised right there.
Yeah, and I can see why that was important because after slavery was done, after it was abolished, there's nothing like free labor. There's nothing like 100% profit. So, you had people in position who had the money and the resources. They wanted to keep this type of labor available for prisoners. They are farming. Okay, this prison labor farming, right? So you had a lot of black men who were victims of this system, and you had a lot of offenses. Just being in the wrong place at the wrong time, that was enough to get arrested, okay? This is called a sundown town. Okay? And be careful. Make no mistake about it. They're still around. You better know where you're going when you're going, okay? Especially if you look a certain type of way. So these men were caught up in the system of bondage so they could provide free labor for farming. So I agree that was a pretty important scene.
So did it strike my emotions? Yes. Yes, it did. Now, did it keep your attention?
Yeah. It definitely kept my attention. I was looking at Stack, I was looking at Smoke. I wanted to see the differences between Stack and Smoke. Stack with his red hat and everything. He also his red tie, Smoke with the blue, you know, on and everything. The hair, how it was greased back and everything. The hair parts and everything. Any differences, similarities in between the twins? I took the beginning part of this film as an opportunity. I said, this is an opportunity to get to know our protagonists here and also see the relationships that they have before we get to the middle of this film. But yeah, definitely kept my attention. What about you, Miss P?
So I know this might go into cinematography a little bit, but I can't help it. Did it keep my attention? Yes. The reason being is I make detailed notes about this one. I said it opened with a painting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I kept going, okay, everything has a color. The colors are red and blue.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did more interest on what the color red is. The color red is often associated with passion, love, and excitement, but it can also represent danger, anger, and even violence. Now, who was in the red? Uh-huh. Negative associations with red, danger, and warning, anger, and violence. It also can mean failure.
Yeah.
And then when I looked up blue, and who was our blue?
Smoke.
And it says blue is often associated with calmness, peace, and serenity. It also symbolizes trust, loyalty, and even sadness or depression. Sadness and depression, the expression having the blues reflects the association of blue with the feelings of sadness. Blue is also, now this is where I liked it. It said blue is also linked to religious symbolism, representing God, holiness, and eternity in various religions across the board. So everything, if you noticed, everything was either two or three colors: blue and white, black and red, or yellow and black.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you get the sense of, did it keep my attention? Yes, because of the colors. The colors meant something. So I had to go back and see what and why. And then I also like that the lead couple was a black couple. You very rarely see that in movies, like big budget movies. You very rarely see black on black love.
Sure.
And it was the leading thing. And so that made me pay attention too.
This is true. And I like how you tied together that symbolism, Miss P, because the blue also goes to blues, the music. Because as you said, it brings about peace, right? And this is when blues music really started. It started in the most tumultuous times of the freed man and woman, okay? Because they were being lynched left and right. So our blues artists, this is where blues comes from. In that struggle of a constant fear of death. Okay, this music gave hope and it gave freedom too. Hope and freedom, which is something you see in Sammy, right? And which is what you see at the end, which we're not going to talk about. Don't look at me. I'm not going to talk about it. You're going to have to watch the movie if you haven't seen it. But this blues is like an instrument, a tool for getting what you want, is freedom. And that's what Sammy wants. You know, Sammy is a young guy working in the plantation field. He is a sharecropper. And if you don't know what a sharecropper is a farmer who works land that is owned by someone else, and they work that land to get a piece of the crop in exchange. However, this was a very common thing that was done with the ancestors of the African American community, and it led to keeping families trapped and in bondage, or we can call it debt bondage. So, you know, for Smoke and for Stack, they weren't about that life. They're like, no, we're going to do something else. We're going to be something else. We're going to be more than just on the plantation. Right? And Sammy wanted to be like his older twin cousins. He wasn't going back to that plantation life, right?
Huh?
So, anyways, though, you know, that's Sammy. We'll talk more about Sammy as we go on, though. But, anyways, though, Miss P, do you have anything else you want to say about number 6? Did it keep my attention?
Nope. I will go more into that in depth with directing and the quality of acting.
Okay.
And number 5, production element.
This was a tight one. This was a tight one. We're talking about a $90 million budget, okay? And we're talking about in 3 months, mind you, ladies and gentlemen, Ryan and more than likely his wife Zinzi, they're doing a pitch, okay? They're going into pre-production. They're going into production, principal filming, and post. That's impressive. They probably got little to no sleep. But yes, yeah. So when it comes to the production element, that is very impressive. I was reading in Variety.com, and he said so the studio will see the copyright of the film revert to him, but only after 25 years, okay? But you know what, Ryan has his team. He has his triple T. He's tested and true with him. You know, with him, he got his Oscar winners with him. He got Ludwig Göransson. All right. He has Ruth E. Carter. Okay, the production designer. I think she won an Oscar for her production design for Black Panther. I really know the costume for the costume. That was the costume. And Hannah Beachler, she's a production designer. So he has his crew. They came together. And let's not forget Michael B. Jordan. You know, Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler have been rolling together since like forever.
Bill Station.
Exactly. Right? So those two go back. They go back. So Ryan was working with his crew, and he has his wife on there. She's a producer, Zinzi Coogler. So he has his crew. This was a well-formed, tight-knit team that they have going on. And you know how we have an ensemble cast? This is like an ensemble movie crew.
Pretty much. But you gotta, it's funny how you brought up Variety, but we're gonna save that for a moment. But Sinners grossed $60 million at the box office. The film opened to 48 million domestically and 63 million globally, marking the biggest debut for an original film since
Mm-hmm.
2019. Internationally, the film has grossed $71 million so far.
And we're not done because this movie only came out a week ago. So
Mm-hmm.
we're just at the beginning of these stats. We're just getting started. And I'm excited. I want to see where this goes. Well,
And so,
oh
go
no,
ahead. I'm
you can
sorry.
go.
Okay, so that's all I had to say about the production elements. Like this time, you have to look at the colors because the colors meant everything.
Mm-hmm.
You had, and if you want to put it into the terms of biblical stuff, you had fallen angels, you had the godlike character or the innocent Jesus character. But then you have to watch Sammy because closer towards the middle, I'm not going to say what it is, but closer towards the middle, you got to pay attention to what's going on because we know why Stack doesn't have a reflection, but Sammy doesn't either.
Yeah.
Sammy doesn't have a reflection either. Why is that? Because if you look at the post credit scene, and I hate to be the one to be like spoiler, but Spoiler for right now.
Spoiler, spoiler, spoiler.
Post post credit scene, you see him in the church playing this little light of mine, all bluesy and jazzed up. And then he looks up. Remember, how did he get his guitar back? This movie is also a play on the guy that sold his soul at the crossroads. And the devil made him a guitar. How did Sammy get his guitar back? Because even Stack said, "Let me see the original thing." And he opened up his guitar case and it was right there. Remember, this is a story about Mississippi. What happened in Mississippi, the blues, he sold his soul to gain popularity. And if you see him, he was like, in that mid-credit scene, he said, "You know what? Smoke made me promise that I wouldn't touch you. I would let you live your life." And he said, "You have the smell of death on you. I can always do something. I'm not going to say what it is, but I can always do something and make you live forever." And he was like, "No, I'd rather go out on my own terms." It's like, okay. And it was just one of those things where you have to see it in person to know what's going on.
That's right.
So if you go see this movie, don't walk out. Always stay. It's like Marvel. Never walk out. Always stay to the end. And I mean to the very bitter end.
Yeah, I'm one of those people. Come on, let's go. Nah, I'm sitting here in the movie theater seat. Why? Because you never know what you're gonna see. You never know what you're going to see. Always stay to the end, okay? It's like a video game. When you beat the video game, the credits are going, you stay, okay? And you watch the credits because there's always something in those end credits. Always.
And especially because they have conditioned us now through Marvel. Always stay. You always stay to the end.
Always. Because a lot of people, they're wondering about, a lot of this symbolism. Just remember, this all ties back to history. Okay? Remember what it does. Okay? That blues, you have the color blue, the color red, but don't forget there's the musical genre blues too. And if you know about the history, read about the history, no worries. You'll be able to tie all the pieces together. Again, don't look at me, okay? I'm only gonna give you breadcrumbs. Crumbs. Miss P, she'll tell you more than me. You're just gonna have to watch it. But that's right. But that's it for me, production elements. Is that it for you? I think you said that's it. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Good for me. Because the only thing that we got now is directing, Miss M. So what do you think about the directing?
The directing, I liked it. There was a lot of thought being put into it. I remember Ryan saying in an interview that they spent a lot of time trying to get the right people for the right things, especially the dancers, because there's a very specific way that they danced. And this is also true, very specially trained dancers, highly trained dancers. And to go out looking for such a thing, I think, that's amazing. Everything, I've always liked Ryan Coogler as a director. Everything is always in the details. Always. I like listening to his interviews. If you're going to be an aspiring director, if you are an aspiring director, read all of the interviews, okay, from about Ryan Coogler so you can see his process and how he directs. Like in Black Panther, how basically Letitia James, Chadwick Boseman, right? But on screen you have T'Challa, Black Panther, and you have the little sister, Shuri. Right? Why did Letitia get cast to go along with T'Challa as his little sister? Because of chemistry. And their relationship came over across on the screen. And you can see this here in Sinners. You can see that our actors have a natural chemistry, which makes the characters have a natural chemistry, which helps our story. And we love it when the characters come to life. So when it comes to the directing, and one of my favorite scenes is when there's a change coming, a supernatural change that happens. And the two twins make an exchange. I like the camera shot and the shot design where, your camera shot's up top, right? Yeah, for one twin. And then one twin you have another, it cuts in between shots where another twin, you're looking at the twin almost kind of upside down, but but between the two, there's up and down, up and down. And I liked how they went that far, of course, also with the shot design. I liked it. I love the attention to the detail details, especially for the time frame that they had. What about you, Miss P?
For me, the directing, the shots that made me go, oh my gosh, was when everybody was a vampire, right? And they're all doing a jig and they start doing an Irish jig, not just and everybody's participating, everybody's singing. And the way that they looked, it was just a lot. The way that they looked, the way that they did the jigs, and he was singing louder and faster and faster and louder. And he was like, are you going to let us in? Are you going to let us in?
Well, Annie was on it, especially being our roots queen there, right? Annie was on it like, no, no. Let's see, why can't she just walk inside? And like, why? And then Cornbread, a different character. This is a different character because she talking about Remick. Remick was doing the jig, and Remick, that's played by Jack O'Connell. Hey, Jack. So yeah, he's doing the Irish jig. Okay. And O'Connell. Yeah. Okay. Remick, yeah. So I thought that was interesting. And the appeal that they were trying to make to them about being a family coming together, because if you know your history, Irish people were not very well liked at all, and they were considered lower at the bottom, like especially if you go back and look at like those sheets where they were trying to justify slavery. This is a European. This is what a European looks like. This is the Afrikaan. This is what an Afrikaan looks like. Look at the differences in the features. This is an Irishman. This is what an Irishman looks like. Look at how he looks. And I was like, man, y'all tried to them, man. Like, why you really? That's how you drew his face? But so I think there's a significance in there because Irish people and the descendants they know what it's like to be treated like the other. So
Uh-huh.
when they're trying to get inside, they're trying to appeal to them about being equitable, equality, coming in and them being able to live together in harmony, right? But it didn't quite work. It didn't quite work. Remick and his crew, they were not successful. And so, you have Cornbread, and Cornbread, he's trying to get in, but Annie's like, nah, 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 nah. And Cornbread, and I quote, because Annie's questioning, like, why can't you just come in? And he's like, this man showed me kindness, employed me, grabbed me on up from the field. And I was like, yeah, I liked your writing. That was good because, there's a certain way and that you talk. But then again, our writer is also Ryan Coogler. Huh, Ryan Coogler.
But it's a time period. That's what it is. It's the time period that he was speaking.
Exactly.
He's like, you did the people's house
Yeah.
and Bob, and he's like, not only did I have to pee, I had to too. And he was like, so you let my brother die? You let my brother die? He had PTSD after that, for real, because he was sitting there and he was shaking and he was like, my brother's dead. Like, twins are
Hmm.
close. Twins are, and he lost part of himself because you saw it. And then when his brother woke up and said, yeah, 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 don't worry about it. I'm better now. I'm better now.
Yeah, that's right. I liked that. You can hear the way they're writing the style of talking. That's really important when you're writing, okay, to capture that time. And yeah, he used the past tense of a curse word. Like, really? Nobody really uses the past tense of particular curse words anymore. But again, you're gonna have to watch the movie to find out which word we're talking about, and it doesn't even come across as a curse word because it's used in the past tense, and it just isn't used like this anymore. So it doesn't even come off as raunchy language. It just comes off as very comedic. So I like that. So there is a point where everybody is trying to come in, and then you have Grace Chow. Grace Chow, she has her husband. He went outside because she's like, "Let's go. We got to get out of here," because everything's going great. I mean, there's a nice middle. In the middle, when we get to the middle of the movie, the twins, they've done their thing. They have employed all of the people they wanted to employ. Their execution of the juke house, the juke joint, is it's coming to fruition, or rather, they've met their goals. Everybody's jamming, so we have a full jam session in full swing until we get some visitors. And they don't like sunlight. And that's all I'm gonna say. So, that's our middle right there. And fast forward, so Grace Child's husband, who's played by she's played by Lee Jun Lee, and her husband eventually comes out, come on, he's like, come on, baby, let's go. I got the car warmed up. And then Grace is like, but there's a man over there and he's literally being attacked, right? And her husband's like, that? Yes. Like, no, wait, no. He's not even. He's more carefree. He's like, oh, that. And I was like, really? Really? Is this what this is? So there are bits and pieces of humor in here.
There's a lot of humor, but everybody is like, "Oh, it's just a bunch of music," and I was like, "You got to understand what the music was representing. You got to understand what the dancers were representing. You got to understand what time lapse happened."
Exactly. And then for Ryan Coogler and his directing, big ups, Ryan, big ups, really. I liked your thought process here as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, because at the core, that's what a filmmaker is. At the core, a director is supposed to be a masterful teller of stories. Okay? So that, and about the middle of our movie here, what we have is there's a blend of past and present. Okay, you can see the evolution of music, okay, from the 1930s onwards to now. You have bits and pieces of there's a girl in there, she's twerking. She's wearing what she would wear nowadays, something that's short and showing all her business. But he's showing a cultural, historical correlation of this music, and I'm not going to give any more details. You're going to have to see it in the movie when it's reaching its middle, its climax. Masterful storytelling, Ryan. Masterful storytelling.
So as we move forward, we have the quality of acting. Once again, this is where I feel like we're gonna shine right here. The quality of acting for me was fantastic. Could it have been a little bit more direct? Maybe. But was it good for what it was? Yes. Did it show what it was? Yes. Like I said, there was a black arms, well, mostly black. Then you had the two Asians, and you had the Irish, and then you had the two white people, and then you had the Indians. Now, see, what we don't talk about too much was the Indians at the very, very beginning. We didn't talk. They were chasing the vampire down. He fell before the people, who also fell, the fallen angels. They fell like stars from heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at his eyes, what was his eyes doing? They were glowing. What happens to stars when they start to lose their light? They dim and they're only in little spaces. So his light was dimming, and he ate. Well, he didn't eat, but he bit the other guy to wake him up, like to make him one of him. And the Indian people, they were like, "Have you seen him? Have you seen him?" And she wasn't trying to give him up, so they said, "Let's go, let's go."
Yeah, yeah. There are Native Americans that are sprinkled throughout this film as well. Native Americans and the African American community have a very strong connection. So, just to give a quick example, what I mean is if you went back into the 1800s and you look at the word Seminole, Seminoles were used to say explain. They were a name for Native Americans, especially say about Georgia, Florida, around about that area. More than likely you had about Mississippi, Alabama too. And this is what you called Native American, right? And then your slaves would escape and become free. So then when they escaped, they would go to these tribes, the Seminole tribe, and they would become Seminoles. And at one point, you had so many slaves escaping and going to the Seminole tribe that the name Seminole was literally interchangeable between escaped slave and Native American. So you had to pretty much listen to the speaker and go by context. See, what are you talking about? Are you talking about like a slave, a person that ran away, or are you talking about a Native American? So there's a very strong cultural connection between the two. So there's definitely again no mistake as to why the Native American is sprinkled in bits and pieces throughout this film.
But you have to remember, oh, let's see. Remick saw the KKK hood, and he played to their sympathy. Because you have a man that's been hurt, and he's, oh no, they got my wife, and I didn't mean for them to, and I got some coins, and they didn't steal everything. Let me in, let me
Classic
in.
Remick.
Still bad. No, that's classic. Just to get into the house to gain entry, which
Mm-hmm.
is that's vampire lure right there. That's just straight up vampire lure. It's just the way he
Yeah.
did it. He looked over and saw that hoodie, like that hood, and he was like, "Ah, let me play to their sympathy."
Yeah, yeah, and she did not let the Native American hunter in. And
But he would have, I would hunting something very dangerous,
he'll,
and she didn't want.
yeah, and he'll tell you anything you want to hear.
They didn't listen. See, anytime you have like praise the Lord, they had Annie, because without that, he would have let him in. They would have let them all back in, and they would have been killed quicker.
True, true. This is very true. This is very true. I didn't really, but I liked the acting. I liked the acting. It was good. I liked it. So Sammy Moore, aka Preacher Boy, is portrayed by Miles Cotton or Cotton. If I didn't say your name correctly, please correct me nicely, okay? And everybody did a great job. Remick, so annoying. He did his job well, okay? So I liked the acting. I liked it all. The actors that played Annie and Pearline, played by Jamie Lawson. I really enjoyed Delta Slim's character, portrayed by Delroy Lindo.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Buddy Guy, a blues legend that graces us with his presence in this film. In the end, Miss P already said something about it, like way back in the beginning of this. So yeah, you're just gonna have to watch the film to find out. But the acting,
But
I enjoyed it.
everybody had sacrificial parts.
Everybody.
Everybody sacrificial part. I mean, everybody. Because the best part was, and see, what the audience didn't see, but what I picked up, I think, was the fact where the KKK people came and they said, "Oh, we're gonna get us an N word and all this stuff." They said, "Well, that's weird. It's locked up tight because smoke let stack live." He said it was locked up tight. Why was it locked up? So they couldn't get in there, burn it down, or kill his brother. And then here's the other thing. Did he was that there was a veil in between, and I'm not gonna say what caused the veil, but he's like, "Give me a cigarette," and he saw Annie. I was like, "Yo, you gotta put that out because you can't get it on her." And so, was there? Did he live or did he die? Because we don't know. You see what I'm saying? Because there was no indication. Like he was in between, because he looked back over, he saw the man. He looked back over, he saw Annie and his daughter. So there was a thing where it was in between the veil. Because is there going to be another one? I hope so. I hope there's going to be another one because I want to see the brothers' lives in Chicago.
A prequel?
Yes. I want to see the brothers' lives in Chicago, or I want to see what happened to like pick up where it kind of left off. Because what happened to Smoke? We don't know. What happened to um like in between those years, because you got to think about it, 1930 to 1992. I want to kind of see what happened to Mary, what happened to Stack. You see what I'm saying? I like things like that. Like, I like, if you're going to make a prequel, do it while the movie is still hot. Like, don't wait 10 years and do a Mad Max Furiosa.
Well, there it goes.
Like, at least give me a year. Give me maybe 2 years. Don't let it leave my mind completely, and then try to tell me a whole different story.
I think maybe a short is suitable. Nothing that's a complete feature.
I don't want anything that's a feature, but I also want to see the director's cut of this movie.
Yeah,
I really would like to see Ryan's cut, not the studio's cut, but his cut. I want to hear his commentary as
yeah.
well. So I'm big into listening, buying movies. That's why I have like a trillion of them. But I want to hear the director's commentary, especially if it's something that I like, then I usually buy the director's cut because I want to see and hear from the actors and from the actual director what they were trying to go, what was their vision in this one particular scene. what was cut out, what was, but that's all I have to say about the quality of acting.
Definitely, yeah, me too. I guess that brings us to sound quality and effects. What do you think about that, Miss P?
There was a lot of use of music.
Yeah.
Was it over? No. I don't feel like this movie was scary in any way. I think it was more of a retelling, rehashing of the man at the crossroads, like how because I believe Sammy was the dude that sold his soul because what lore says vampires can't see their reflection in the mirror. But Sammy didn't have a reflection in the mirror either. He sold his soul at the crossroads because of his fame. Because what did it say? The man sold his soul to the devil, and then the devil gave him a new guitar.
Yeah, Smoke really tried to get Sammy to do something else. And, his dad, being a preacher, definitely wanted Sammy to just take a certain path. But Sammy was like, no, there's a time in your life where you want to be something more than your circumstances. You want to be something more than what's common for your people. You find it everywhere in all marginalized groups. Okay, even talk about women. You women wanted to be more than housewives, and I'm going to get very specific here because I do like my history. Housewives is really a the homemaker, okay? That's white woman's history, okay? That's white woman's history. Okay, so when we talk about that, okay, because for black women, okay, they didn't have the luxury of having a spouse that could do something like that. Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that. But anyways, um, but women who did have that option to be homemakers, to be housewives, they didn't just want to be housewives. They wanted to be something more. And they wanted to develop themselves. Develop themselves and grow and evolve as people while, of course, helping their children grow and evolve too. You see it everywhere, and you see it in all marginalized groups of people, and it's the same thing for Sammy.
His dad, because he even close to the end, his dad said, let it go, put it down," and he couldn't.
That guitar stayed glued to Sammy's hand.
Uh-huh. But see, did he sell his soul? That's the end. At the end of the thing, did he or did he not sell his soul? Because why would he not have a reflection?
I agree with you on that one. I agree with you on that one, yeah.
Okay. And so my favorite thing, do you have anything else to say about sound quality and
No,
effects? Okay. So my favorite thing after this is cinematography.
cinematography.
It's the best thing ever. You have to pay attention to the red, to the blue, and to the black. You have to, those are the three things that you have to pay attention to. It was beautifully shot because when he shot that rattlesnake, Sammy thought he was shooting him and he shot the rattlesnake beside him. That was one of the best things ever. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it and I liked it.
Yeah. I was like Bad Omen. Yeah, but yeah, I don't have anything to say about cinematography. Nothing.
Oh, either.
No, yeah, but I will say this. I saved my rating to the end. I'm going to give it a Carolina Reaper. And the reason why I'm giving it a Carolina Reaper is because they went from pitch to production in 3 months. And to have that level of detail, meticulous, tedious detail, to just be able to capture all of that, my gosh, the work you had to put in. 3 months. You did it in 3 months. Your work ethic. This is for the entire film crew, all the actors, everybody who participated in this film. We see your work ethic and we see your dedication. And you are the reason why I rate this film a Carolina Reaper.
Well, hot dang. We agree. We agree wholeheartedly.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, is there anything else you want to say? You want to do shout outs? Shout outs? Are we out to any favorite actor in this film?
To the cast, to the crew, to the directors, executors, and producers. Y'all are going to knock it out of the park. I hope that y'all get Oscar nominated and Emmy nominated.
Yes, yes. To Ryan, I'm excited to see your work, and I can't wait to see what else you will do. To Michael, I am excited to see your work as an actor, to see what other roles you will do, and also what other movies you will direct. I'm waiting. I am waiting. But that's it for me. I don't have anything else to say other than go see it, people, and come visit us and comment. What about you, Miss P?
Be one of us. Be one of us. Come to our website. Interact with us. Come to our YouTube, our Spotify, anything that we have, we stream it. Interact with us. Let us know how you like it. And that's all I got to say.
That's right, because not only did Miss P and I feel a strong need to review this film, you asked us. You said, hey, we want to hear what you're saying. So we listen to our fans. So give us something else to review. Give us something else. Give us something else. Yeah, with that said, hey, I'm Miss M, and I'm about this piece.
I'm Miss P. Bye.
See you later.